we talking NFL draft prospects because we've asked you guys on multiple occasions to send, your emails of your different prospects that you want us to break down and give you our thoughts on them. And ultimately, do we think that they could fit the Steelers draft position and things along that? So, as I've said, and we'll continue to say, we take those names and we, come back with some good people for you. So, yeah, we do have a nice list of 5 guys we'll be talking about today. 3 linebackers, 2 defensive tackles. And, anybody that wants more prospects talked about or different prospects talked about, send us an email to Moats, MOATS. Don't forget my S, okay? Winners, because me and Deke are both winners. Okay, moatswinners@gmail.com. Send it there. Let us know who you want us to check out. And man, we'll cut the tape on and talk about those guys. But the first guy I wanted to talk about was out the University of Georgia. All right. Now it's going to be a couple guys out the University of Georgia, but this first guy, linebacker, number 41, Channing Tindall. I think that's how you say his last name. Now with Channing, man, he's an interesting guy. 6'2", 230. I think he is a very raw guy, but he's extremely athletic. Mixed bag in terms of his usage. He rotated him with, I think it was Quay Walker. They say his last name. But, with Channing, man, he's a guy that flies to the ball. When you watch him on tape, he is shot out of a cannon at times. And he arrives with really, really bad intentions, which I really like a lot about him. I just think as a whole, man, he is, like I said, so raw, but I think his potential is through the roof. Just when you look at how fast he is, the size he has, the prerequisites when you're watching him blitz. I think that he could be a nice cover guy, but I just don't know because we haven't seen a ton of it on tape from the games that I had watched. But as a whole, man, I think that, this is a guy that he plays with great energy and passion. And he just plays extremely hard. Like, you watch him, man, it's some stuff where you're just like, you're the one who made that play. You were all the one on the other side of the field in coverage, and you went and got a tackle for a loss on a guy scrambling around. Like, that's some of the stuff that Channing brings to the table that, to me, initially just jumped off the screen that I was like, you know what, I like this guy for those type of qualities right there.
Yeah, as soon as I started watching him, I was like, are we sure this guy's worse than Nakobe Dean right now? Are we sure that he should be projected in like the 2nd or 3rd round? I don't even know. Some people might even have him in the 4th round range because of the inexperience. And that's really the only negatives that I'm seeing popping up. One of them is his eyes, figuring out exactly like where he needs to be on some of like these play actions, or sometimes he's overlapping some of his own players. Outside of that, inexperience. The physical intangibles and just what he has talent-wise is enough to, maybe for the Steelers, really consider this prospect, I think. Yeah. Because of the athleticism, the speed, the height, too. And we just got to see.
He looks taller than 6'2", but he looks smaller than 230, if that, like... When I think of 6'2", 230, I think of more like short, stocky, almost like a Devin Bush build.
Yeah, I was surprised whenever I looked up his height at 6'2". I thought he was going to be like 6'3" or 6'4".
I thought the same thing. Yeah, he looks like 6'3", 220-ish to me personally. Almost like a Tevin Smith or Nigel Bradham. Like, those are the kind of guys that I thought of when I was watching him. But something that you hit on in terms of his eyes, that is what I have written down. I said that I think he needs like legit coaching to refine him and just ultimately develop him, because at times, I don't know if he's just so gung-ho about being more physical that he will put his fundamentals to the side in terms of his reads, in terms of his hand placement, in terms of angles, because he's just trying to get there. Because like I said, he plays so hard. Like, you watch him, and part of him playing that hard is because he rotates. Sometimes it's package or personnel based. He would be the guy that they would bring in as like their dime linebacker, right? Obvious pass situations or lighter personnel that you're playing against, right? In terms of 11, 1 running back, 1 tight end. Whenever it was 2 running backs or 2 tight ends, he wasn't on the field as often as some of the games that I watched. So I was trying to figure out, was it because of him being a senior and the other guy that he was rotating with being seniors, and both of the guys were pretty good? Was that the reason? Was it they thought that the other guy was better than against the run? Did they just want to rotate these guys every couple of series? Like,
maybe
it was
they had
hard.
More faith in the other guy.
Yeah, it was hard watching it to find like the rhyme or reason behind it, because in the SEC championship, he was definitely only utilized in the passing situation. So anytime it was light personnel, he was on the field. You watch him versus Tennessee, he's just rotating out there every couple of series. You watch him against Dagon, I think it was Auburn. I think that was the other game I watched. You watch him that game, and he didn't start, but he played pretty much starter quality like snaps. So with him, it's a mixed bag. But I do, like I said, man, in terms of the potential that he has, if you get him with the right coaching staff that can help him understand to trust his eyes and to ultimately use his hands, because he takes on a ton of blocks just going full speed, but shoulder it. College, you can get away with it. At the NFL, they're just going to hold you, and they're not going to call it because the referees don't have to when you don't use your hands and you allow these guys to just wrap you up like that. So that's the thing that I thought of with him. But the straight line speed, that jumps off the tape every single time. When you're watching him go for a running back, you're watching him chasing down some type of person with a ball, like
even just blitzing,
he beelines. Now, going back to even his blitzing, because I do like when I see him blitz. My issue with his blitzing is this. He's late a lot because of his disguise. Now, that's a coaching point in the sense of you watch him when he's blitzing from like walked out on a receiver in the slot. His alignment is still at 5 yards. And it's like, I get it. You're fooling the quarterback. You're fooling the receiver. You're even fooling the offensive line. But the reason you're fooling them is because they all know that you can't get there from 5 yards out off the ball. And, with that 2x4 alignment in terms of him being walked out. So what I would say if I'm coaching him is still a half a step, maybe even 2 steps. If you line at 3.5 yards, that offensive line is not going to be able to tell. Line at 3.5, eyes on this receiver, or talking like you're communicating to somebody in coverage. And now you found a way to help you because he's flying to the ball and he's just missing. But that's the reason, because his Hollywood is so good. But it's like, yo, you don't have to be perfect. We don't want your disguise to be that perfect. Get to where you can actually get there, because what ends up happening is this. At Georgia, he gets away with it because you got just elite talent. And we can point to that. But at the NFL level where it balances out, the issue that you run to is the Trey Norwood Vegas Raiders situation where a guy is late. You got a guy man-to-man versus a top-tier receiver or a speedster or anything like that. Yeah. You can't be late. You can't miss that because you were Hollywood. And that's the coach point that I would really hit home with him on it, outside of just focusing on the basics of, shuffle a little bit. But I don't even think I need to coach the shuffle too much, because he does a good job of that. And for him, once he sees the ball, he just goes and gets it. But using his hands more when he takes on those blockers, those are some of the things that he could clean up. But with the right coaching, I feel very confident in Channing. And I think that, honestly, man, I'm with you. Like, I could easily see him being one of those, wow, wasn't the early guy, when he develops. But right now, if I'm one of these teams, I do kind of view him a little bit more as not a project in the sense of like long term, but just in the sense of like, he's a little rough around the edges. Like super raw, super talented, but just got to clean it up a little bit. It's kind of like, when we get a little, when you line this thing up and shave it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the only things that are really that negative are the inexperience up to this point. And I guess you go back and question, why wasn't he playing earlier? But that Georgia defense was pretty damn good.
Bro, the more you
watch
them,
happens in college.
Like,
dudes get lost in the shuffle. Remember with Arkansas's running backs where didn't they have 3 guys?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was McFadden, Felix Jones, and
Hillis.
The Hillis. Yeah, he was the other one. I was like, it was nuts.
Yeah, McFadden got a lot of the shine, but you saw Peyton Hillis for like a season and a half was actually an NFL, decent NFL running back.
Come on, man.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was, but he had a season. He
Felix
had that one
Jones,
season, bro.
Yeah, he actually didn't pan out that well.
No, chill out. He had some years in Dallas.
It wasn't terrible.
He had some years in Dallas.
You thought he was going to be like full-time running back, though. That never really happened. He was splitting with Marion Barber early on.
But I was a Marion Barber guy, though.
He was sick.
Yeah, he ran hard as heck. Badass. Ran hard as heck, man.
But no, that could happen in college. Whenever you have like LSU, think of the receivers that were down there.
How many, dude, even when
Alabama
think
receivers.
About when Patrick Queen came out. Remember, we talked about Patrick Queen's draft, and it was like, Cleveland took the third guy. I think it was another team took another one of their guys. You're like, all them dudes is all at the same time. Like, it's tough to get on the field with some of these bigger universities, man. But the one thing I say with Channing, though, bro, his speed, like,
how do you feel about him in coverage? I think I read something. I even saw like him. Didn't he make a pick like down the sideline against Florida?
Yeah, he had a nice.
But then
play.
I also seen some stuff that I read about. It was like, so in coverage, but looks like he has the intangibles to do it in terms of turning his hips. He just needs to be coached up.
Needs the coaching in a major way coverage wise, but more so because he doesn't have a lot of exposure doing it. Typically they blitzed him a lot and they would leave Nakobe Dean as the cover guy. Now Nakobe, we'll talk about him in a little bit as well, but Channing was their blitzer. Channing was the guy that they would just send. And that was why you, like, in terms of trying to evaluate him as a man-to-man cover guy, because he had some zone dropping stuff, but it was all just cover 3 hook drop. And honestly, cover 3 hook drop is like the most boring drop as an inside linebacker, especially if you're not getting any crossers or any ball action over where the center is, 10, 15. Like, it ain't really nothing to say yay or nay on. But in terms of him having the hips, in terms of him having the speed, in terms of him having the length, the arms and stuff like that, I definitely think that you could coach it up, but it would take a little bit more for that. I think initially, if you're bringing him in, you love him against the run and you're going to use him as your bona fide blitzer. Like, he's going to be your blitz guy. We talked about remember it was Vince Williams and Shea, or Vince and Devin was like, yo, Vince the blitzer. That's what you would do with him early on until he just starts to understand how to cover it. Because a lot of times when you got young players that are fast like him but don't really have a lot of experience covering, they think they got to run full speed every time. They think they got to be 4-3 to cover guys every time, and that is not how it works. It's not how it works. So you would just have to just teach him that part. But with the right coaching staff, man, that's, to me personally, I think it's an easier fix.